TnE podcast back here, season 2, episode 2. Today we are talking about dating differences, dating in China versus dating in Korea. We have three articles lined up for you, and we're going to jump right into the first one and try to highlight some of the difference between Chinese and Korean dating. The first article here is Chinese man buys 99 iPhone 6s to
Only
propose
99.
to his... Only 99. Yeah, we want to just make this point. If he would have bought 100, the girl would have said yes to him,
yes.
right?
You got to make a round number.
Clearly, that was why she rejected him.
Clearly. I mean, you got to make it a round number. Why 99?
Yes, well, the guy got pretty much screwed in this situation. So let's get into it a little bit here. As you see in the picture right here, the guy is got a bunch of flowers. The girlfriend is staring at him like, "How dare you didn't get me one more iPhone?"
And he arranged all the 99 iPhones in a heart.
That's right. He arranged all of the 99 iPhones in the heart for her.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens. Okay. A young Chinese man attempted to celebrate the Singles Day by proposing to his girlfriend. Except for it didn't quite go to plan. What happened, Tom?
First of all, I want to just point out the Singles Day in China. For people who don't know, it's the day where you just spend as much money as you can, basically.
What day is Singles Day?
So Singles Day is November 11th in China. So on that day, you basically just spend as much money as you can just to buy stuff, because that's Chinese culture, right? Just buy as many things as you can, show off your wealth. In this case, he wanted to buy 99 iPhones to propose to his girlfriend. And looks like it wasn't enough for her, so she ended up rejecting him.
So how did the story play out? Let's look into it here.
So basically, she turned him down in front of all these people, like not just normally turning him down, but humiliating him in front of this group of people here. Because apparently over 50,000 pounds worth of Apple technology was not good enough, not even close. So
that's right. So even though he paid ridiculous amount, I mean, he could have just put this in a down payment. I think that would have been a little bit more realistic. Why don't you just put this in a down payment and then show the girl that you just made a down payment on a house? But why would you spend almost 50,000 pounds of
I'm not sure,
cash?
But I think in China this is actually kind of a common occurrence where you had to spend a lot of money for a girl, because it's not just you buy them gifts, because when you're dating a girl, normally you could buy her gifts and stuff. I guess a lot of girls expect that, but in China it's like an obligation. It's like the guy has to buy them gifts. It's like whether or not you deserve it or not, they just expect gifts from a guy. But not just small gifts. They expect luxury bags, Mercedes-Benz, in this case, even a whole bunch of iPhones. But it's not even that's not enough.
Clearly, the expectations, some girls have really ridiculous expectations, or the guys feel like they have to compete this hard to get a girl's interest, right? Definitely the one-child policy helped to create this issue. Everyone that has looked into the dating life in China knows that there's way more dudes than girls, right? This is definitely caused a lot by the one-child policy, because a lot of them just aborted the girls. They got rid of them because they knew most of the Chinese parents they wanted a son. So, anyways, this imbalance.
It's that, and I think just a lot of girls are spoiled in China because of the economic growth situation, the one-child policy, because they girls they're the ones who can make the baby, so they put all their attention on the girl. Then they get 公主病, right, which is the princess syndrome. So they have all these guys as options, and of course, in the current Chinese culture, is you got to show off your wealth, so you had to buy as much stuff as you can for the girl.
That's right. So it really is about this wealth, showing off their money to the girl to try to impress them. So it says, unfortunately, I'm getting bombed with ads here. Unfortunately, the guy's girlfriend was less than impressed and turned him down in front of his friends and colleagues. Look at that. So basically, she rejected him in front of the friends and colleagues that he had invited. He set this whole thing up, and he got publicly humiliated in front of everyone. And then she immediately, that wasn't enough, okay? She immediately shared this exchange on Weibo.
Yep.
right? So she humiliated him in front of his friends and colleagues. Then she goes on to Weibo and she like smashes him again. So now everybody freaking knows. Everybody in China, everybody in that has access to Weibo.
How dare you get me only 99 iPhones?
How dare you?
How dare you only get me 99 iPhones?
Insulting.
Exactly. How much do you think I'm worth?
And look at this. Weibo users started smashing him also. Unimpressed. And they just did. Oh, actually, they didn't care about his gesture.
They dismissed his gesture as stupid. Yeah. Poor guy, man. He just got killed.
This guy got nailed and everything.
Killed.
Yeah. So basically, Chinese Single Day is a basically massive buying day, like we talked about. Anyways, this article is just to show you that even though this guy went through so much trouble to try to impress the girl, she still rejected him, and painfully. So, all right, moving on to the second article. Shanghai woman dumps boyfriend after seeing the humble dishes his family had prepared for Chinese New Year dinner. All right, Tong, lead us into this.
Yep. So for the Spring Festival, which is a big festival holiday in China, Chinese New Year's actually. So what happened was the Shanghai woman, the boyfriend is apparently from a poor countryside, but they're in a relationship, and he invited her over to meet his parents, and his parents made this dinner for them, Chinese New Year's dinner. But because it's not like a fancy Michelin 5-star type of dinner, it wasn't good enough for her because she's got such luxury tastes, and it wasn't good enough. And immediately she saw this dinner and was like, "What are you giving me? What kind of food is this?" And kind of just booked a ticket the next night, I think, back to Shanghai.
No, it says the first train back to Shanghai.
Oh yeah, the first train. Yep. So immediately
she got out of there as soon as she could because she was so insulted by his hometown cooking.
Yep.
It wasn't good enough for her.
Well, we'll think about it like here in the U.S., for example, right? You meet your girlfriend, then they have a homemade dinner for you. You actually think of homemade as a good thing, right? They have a nice homemade meal. In this case, it's I guess she took it as an insult. So. Do
you think it's insulting in China? Like, you have more obviously cultural knowledge than me. Is it insulting? I would. What do you think?
Well, I think the highlight of this story is that it's kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, what is this girl expecting? Is she expecting like a 5-star Michelin buffet ready for her or something like that? Like, your boyfriend's parents took the time to prepare this dinner for you, right? And even if you don't like it, at least you can do is show some gratitude and respect. But the first thing she does is immediately have to catch the train back to Shanghai because it's so insulting on that level. And to me, that's just kind of ridiculous.
And not only that, remember, she talked about, she wrote online, right? She didn't, I don't know where she posted this, but she said, this is what was put on the table for us to eat when we arrived today.
Yeah,
so she posted this on Weibo or some social network just to kind of blast him for, how dare you serve this to me?
Yeah, exactly. It's like she's treating it like it's some kind of prison food or something.
What is the word for Chinese princess, Tom?
公主病.
公主病.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect example of 公主病, right?
I mean, she's treating it like it's some kind of prison food or something like how dare you give me this kind of
that's right.
disgusting food
this disgusting mom's food.
Yeah.
That she took all day to prepare. Right?
So
it's so freaking rude. Let's look at some of the disrespectful, responses.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
Let's take
China
a look at
talks about the netizens. Let's see, what did the
comments,
netizens say in Weibo? Okay, let's go ahead and read the first one.
Families of a couple should be well matched. I can see where she's coming from. So, this is like one of those, actually I heard this a lot in China, right? You have some like rich girl, if the guy doesn't have enough money, if he's too poor, that's the end of it. I think
a lot of it, that's what it says, right? I mean, basically, the expectation in China is like money is a huge part of the matchmaking thing, right?
No, it's like the only thing, I think.
It's the only, it seems like the thing that matters, and everything else is just kind of...
Yep.
What do you guys think in the comments? If you guys have something to say about Chinese dating and expectations for how much money the guy
basically,
and girl should have,
what these two stories show us is, in Chinese dating life, basically the only thing that matters is money. Do you have money or not? That's it.
I think you're right. I mean, obviously buying 99 iPhones, sharing a family meal that is not good enough, right? The expectation is that the dude should have a crap load of money and show it off to the girl in a really public, obvious way.
Yep.
And if it's not good enough, she rejects him.
So look at the next comment. It says, breaking up was the right thing to do, but she should have been a little smoother about it.
I think that's a good idea. She could have been a little smoother instead of destroying him in front of his family, leaving, going back to Shanghai immediately. I think they're right. A little smoother would have been appropriate.
But what's more, it shows you exactly the attitude, right? Like, breaking up was the right thing to do. Basically, apparently in China, if you see this kind of dinner, yeah, that's immediate breakup.
This is immediate red flag, girls.
Yep.
You should break up with the guy immediately, because how dare he serve you hometown food.
Yeah, how dare. His own hometown cooking. It's a no-no.
Terrifying.
Yeah, you need
Terrifying.
KFC. They need KFC or McDonald's or something way better than that.
You need something way better.
Yep.
All right, was there any more comments? Let's see, you said, say that you are such a high-class person, and then you go to someone's house as an honored guest and behave like... So this is a Weibo user that has some manners and understands that this girl is behaving ridiculously. And the next person says the same thing. This looks like a good countryside meal. You're just a bitch.
Biatch.
Another. Biatch. You was a biatch.
So it's like
And Tom, what's the
50-50, I
last
guess,
one?
yeah. This is Fish and Me. Your mother-in-law must have worked really hard to prepare this for you. So, I mean, obviously she worked pretty hard, and the way that she treated this dish is, you know, is really disrespectful.
All right, and what's the final comment?
Sister, you're already 27. You don't have time to be so picky. And
So elaborate a little bit on the expectation of age and marrying.
well, in China, there's this concept of leftover women, with which Chinese women use as kind of their oh, you know, like, we don't have we have this kind of burden or something like that, and not that's the kind of thing they got to deal with in the society. But for me, it's like not really leftover women, and it's more about the fact that they're being like picky bitches basically, and that's why they're left over. Because in China, basically, and I've talked to a lot of Chinese people, right, and my Chinese friends and everything, basically, if you can't buy a house and a car, then you can't get married. So basically, you have a lot of guys in the countryside that don't have enough money, because it takes a lot of money, especially in Shanghai, to buy something. If you don't have enough money, the girl's not going to marry you. So how can you say you're a leftover woman when your standards are like this high, right? So to me, the whole leftover thing doesn't make... It's basically them being, you know, spoiled bitches. That's why they're left over.
I would say that's right. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, anybody who is just too picky to the point and is going to be left over, probably.
Yep.
That is the end of the Shanghai woman article. Let's move on to our kimchi bitches. Sorry, our kimchi girls. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Tone, lead us into this talking about kimchi girls.
So this is just in contrast to what we saw the two previous articles about the Chinese bitches, and this one, in comparison, we can look at Korea, which I think the culture for the women is kind of opposite of that of China, because in China, it's just like it's an expectation that you get, you know, you expect the guy to give you everything. You basically have 公主病, right? You have a princess syndrome, but the guys in China, right, just expect to give all this money and gifts and stuff to girls without even thinking about it. But in Korea, right, you can see that if a girl is basically being like a Chinese girl, then she gets called like a kimchi girl. So it's kind of a derogatory thing. It's like in Korea, you can't be like that. You can't just ask for gifts all the time. You know, expect that kind of stuff. The same things that Chinese girls expect. So if you try to do that in Korea, then basically you can get put down for a kimchi girl. You can see that in the notes there, right? We can actually see the translations, I believe, in what they wrote. So in the chat room, a user named Cabbage Kimchi says, "You're called fermented kimchi for whatever reason. If your educational background wages are lower or higher compared to men, if you prefer to date foreigners, if you have a lot of sexual experience, if you decide not to have sex in a relationship, if your ideal type is a tall man, if you have many male friends, if you go to a women's university, if you act innocent or not, if you're pretty after getting cosmetic surgery, if you're ugly and you never got any cosmetic surgery." So basically, if you do anything, you're a kimchi girl.
That's right. So it's basically screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
Yeah.
The expectation, what we want to point out here, is that the standard for girls in Korea is crazy high. Mm-hmm. Like, they have to perform, they have to be a certain way to be called a woman, to be the guy's type. This is certainly not for all girls, right? This is just kind of the crazy netizen arguments going on. But this might be kind of the common thought about women in some age groups, right? About the younger. This is probably like teenagers. Probably what age group do you think are posting this? Like I see this posted on Goryeo Daehakyo. So these are probably college students. Probably let's say
teenagers to college students, maybe mid-20s. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe 16 to 26 or something like that. People are thinking like this. So it looks like basically no matter what you do as a woman in that age group, you're going to be heavily judged. Whereas in China, you can pretty much get away with murder. And the guy is expected to buy you 100 iPhones. For
you see
your marriage proposal.
The difference is in China, it's almost like the guy has to take most of the burden because the guy, right, basically has to do everything. In Korea, it's like the opposite. The girl has to basically do everything. So
right. So the girl is expected to basically jump through a bunch of hoops to be acceptable for the guy. All right, let's move on to the next blob here. Kimchi nyo. Kimchi no, first of all, I would like to point out also is that nyo is a very like derogatory term for woman. Like yoja would be the correct term, but when you put nyo, it's obviously looking down on them, right, Tom?
Yep.
Go ahead, lead us into this one.
Basically it's what we said. A lot of people can set the standard for defining kimchi girl, but basically, as we read, no Korean woman can escape from becoming one because the expectations are just everywhere. Just being a girl, basically, doing anything, you can be labeled a kimchi girl. So. Right. And then we can go furthermore, hateful, coarse language that describes women like kimchi girl and bean paste girl have become a part of everyday speech. So bean paste would be twinjang. So twinjang now and kimchi now, right? Both of those derogatory terms.
Isn't it strange that they like to use these base foods of Korean food culture to derogatorily talk about women? Like, why are they using, like, these are two really basic things of Korean food. It's like kimchi and twinjang. Bean paste. Why? I don't know.
It could be a negative thing because they're both fermented foods and which are kind of like smelly or something like that.
That could be right.
Yeah,
could be right. They're both stinky. They're both stinky foods.
Yeah, it's like calling
delicious, but stinky.
Like stinky tofu girl basically. If this was to exist in China, yeah.
True. All right.
But yeah, it's basically saying the women had to. They have such high standards in Korea, right? So the standards apply for women, very arbitrary, abusive, unlike the standards apply for men. I mean, you see this actually in Korea a lot, right? You see the women are always very beautiful, always very dressed up, have to have makeup on.
That's right.
The guys, no such criteria, right? You see these couples in Korea, the guy, no such criteria as for the girl, right?
Yeah.
And
I think that's the point.
There's this one story, you can see one woman said that men shorter than 180 centimeters are losers, and then she was fired from her job for that and ostracized by society, which is a little bit harsh. I mean, what she said wasn't very nice, but again, this shouldn't lead her to her losing her job for it.
Yeah, that was super extreme. I think she said something on public television that short men are losers, and she was fired. That's obviously extreme. I think that women are not allowed to, in Korea, or in Asia in general, I would say, are not allowed to talk out about their opinions, especially in a derogatory way about men, right? Obviously.
Yeah, and the thing is, for guys, is like, I'm sure men say something about fat and ugly women all the time, but nothing really happens to them, right?
Of course.
So
I mean, they're not saying it definitely on TV per se, but they talk about it quite often, and I'm sure that it's in this.
But if a woman talks about it, oh man, see, look how this stuff.
Yeah, if a woman talks about it, fired.
Yeah.
So yeah, we hope that Korea is the expectations are a little more realistic for men and women, or a little more balanced in the future. So is the last part we'll talk about is, let's see, is your kimchi all right? All right, so they collect these stories. They try to help woman judged by these names, and it says that they want the woman to release the stress of not being all right. So these 5 posters were written wrote as a response to the first, which asked the kimchi girls if they are all right. One girl, Min Kyung, she says, I have to give up so many things to become a sensible, woman, so I am not all right, right? How could someone be all right after these expectations? So she says, of course I'm not all right. She writes, I thought that since I didn't like designer bags, I didn't drink Starbucks, and I made fun of those bean paste girls with the guys, that I was a good woman. But my personality has to be good too. I can't be too close with other women, but if I'm not close enough with them, that's also bad. I can't be too close with too many male friends, but if I'm not close enough with any guy, it seems too arrogant, so that's also not okay. If I act innocent, that's not okay. But if I act too much like I don't care what people think, that's not good either. I have to have sex if I'm in a relationship, but on the other hand, I have to be a virgin. Really, now I don't know what I have to do to be a sensible woman.
Exactly.
So they're basically trapped, right? This is impossible. She says it's impossible to fit in the narrow definition of a sensible woman, so I'll give up on that, and I don't care anymore.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, it just shows you the ridiculous standards. Like, basically, just for being a woman, it can be called this. And I mean, I think this just the highlight of this article is compared to the Chinese articles. I've heard this term used actually when I was living in Korea, and it's just some guys even complain about it. Oh, this girl's like a kimchi girl or whatever. And I said, why is she a kimchi girl? Oh, because she made me pay for everything. And I was like, well, that's something that happens in China all the time, because that's what the guys are expected to do. Whereas in Korea, this is such an an occurrence, I guess, one to complain about, right? Something to complain about, apparently. So it just tells you the difference between the two cultures, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the expectations are completely different for the woman, and I would say both of the cultures should use, some slight alteration, allow their expectations for the woman to adjust a little bit. Like they should not be allowed, like Chinese women maybe shouldn't be allowed to be these princess girls and expect so much from the dude as far as getting married, and Korean girls shouldn't have to live up to some crazy standard, and so that they're so stressed and they don't know if they can drink Starbucks or and then they'll be called bean paste girl because they drink Starbucks. I mean,
I think the TLDR here is that Chinese girls are a little bit too spoiled, and Korean guys are a little bit too spoiled. So
that's right. That's exactly right, Tong.
Yeah.
And that is it for Season 2, Episode 2. See you guys in the next one, where we're going to be talking about China and Taiwan, a very fiery topic. Thank you and good night.